The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary. And I will make the place of my feet glorious.
Because the Lord is going to restore everything. You're going to have a total different vibration on the earth, a total different smell. You're not going to be walking down the street and smell shit and piss, you know, and no foul odors or nothing like that, because the lungs of the earth are going to be given back to it, which is all these trees and all of these flowers, and it's going to be a whole total different vibration. You know, you're going to see the aura and how things are going to change and how elevated things are going to be. Our senses are going to be heightened, you know? Everything about us is going to be glorified.
Behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and a people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. The child shall die 100 years old. But the sinner, being 100 years old, shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build, and another inhabit. They shall not plant, and another eat. For as the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith the Lord.
The Lord said that on the Heavenly Father's right hand there are pleasures evermore. And it says that I have not seen, neither ear heard the things which the Lord hath prepared for them that wait for him. You know, there's a whole another world of greatness that awaits us when the kingdom of heaven is established. It's not seen in this society. In this society, we only see carnal things that reason offers in this society. But when the kingdom is established, the Lord is going to open us up to a whole nother world, you know, of pleasure, of knowledge, of wisdom, understanding, you know, just, I mean, can't even be put into words, you know, because our imagination only goes but so far.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the whole elect out there pushing his word and truth and this sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashim Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai. All right, and we're gonna get into this morning. You know, first, you know, you had the protests, you know, across the nation, you know, in different cities. All right, the No Kings protest, you know, which, you know, you see, you know, uprising against, you know, the dictatorship style, okay, of Donald Trump, you know, and we know, All right, that these devils, they want, okay, a uproar, okay, and they want, people to riot. Now, what's interesting about yesterday is that the devil didn't get the reaction that he wanted. So you best believe, all right, that he has something else brewing, and for sure yesterday, I thought it would be, a perfect opportunity for them, to use agent provocateurs, okay, to cause things, to cause clashes, okay. But it was pretty much a peaceful protest. Millions of people, throughout the nation, protested, you know, what they call anti-fascism, what uh, the president, and his cabinet, deemed okay to be Antifa, okay, and so you had these protests, and it was fairly peaceful, which people are within their constitutional rights, to a peaceful assembly, to a protest, okay, and the narrative, was that the left, was just these out of control, okay, terrorists, domestic terrorists, the enemy within, okay. So they didn't get any, all right, ammunition, okay, to push, all right, for more force, from the protest yesterday. But what it did show that there was a major division. Okay, matter of fact, the brother got it. It's disciples of Yahushua. It says Mark 3:24 says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. All right, and this is a kingdom that's divided, from the top, all right, down to Joe Sixpack, from the elite banking families, okay, to these Edomites, walking the sidewalks of America. There's division, okay, because you still have those pro-maggers, okay, that's going to ride it out with Trump. And then you have, what they call the left or the liberals, or, you know, the patriots that's against, what, the style of government, okay, that these devils are trying to bring in, okay. So it shows you that, yesterday showed that there was a great divide, okay. And pretty soon, all right, there are going to be clashes, okay. And we're going to go and segue into something else. Now, first, let's start off here. We probably get that in Mark 3, just to go into that word, divide. But let's go here to the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. All right, reading the verse 3. Starting at verse 1, it says, Habakkuk 2:1, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. Okay, so we're on our watch. We're sitting on the tower, as we watch, we look out, all right, and see what's going on, okay, in the world, see how the devil is moving, seeing the atmosphere, the social climate, geopolitical, war, all right, his technology, the economy, all these particular things, and we're watching, all right, on our tower. The Lord has set us up to be watchmen. Okay, so as we're on our watch, okay, we're seeing, all right, what prophecies are speaking, and that's how the Lord speaks, okay, to his men, all right, through what? Through prophecy being fulfilled real time. Okay, so when you keep reading, it says, and the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon the tables, that he may run that readeth it. Okay, and these, our forefathers, will get visions. Okay, they will receive, they will be inspired by the Spirit. Okay, things will be revealed unto them. Okay, and they had all these things written down, for us in this time to be able to run with these things, because a messenger, if you was a messenger, okay, in the ancient world, well, you have to run, okay, with that message. Okay, you will receive that message, and you will have to go from one post to the other where you will run with that message. Okay, so our forefathers' spirit, all right, was dealing with our forefathers, giving them visions, giving them revelations on particular things, all right, and they had it written down, had it scribed, as a record in the form of the scriptures, man. Okay, and we're able to read it with the understanding through the Holy Spirit, all right, which the understanding was given, okay, due to the sacrifice of Yahweh. We had this understanding, all right, and in this day, we're able to run with the visions that our forefathers, all right, had, okay, through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay, and now all the technology, because our forefathers, they was trying to describe different technologies that they were seeing, the missiles, okay, the RFID microchip, okay. They was trying to describe these technologies to the best of their ability. But now we fully understand what they were speaking on, okay, and that's why we're able to run, okay, with the message, man. Verse 3 says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, okay, and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry." And see, we're in the time, all right, where the vision is speaking. We're in that appointed time where these things are beginning to speak more and more. Okay. So everything, that's uh, written, okay, to happen. All right. We're seeing the build up to all these things getting ready to happen, man. There's no prophecy that's stagnant. All prophecy is active, in progress, man. Okay. So let's go here. Go to this video dealing with yesterday. I was wondering, how this devil was going to play it. Okay, how things was going to go. All right. But what we see, is let me go. Yeah, let's go here. All right. For the most part, it was peaceful, and people didn't give him, ammunition, okay, to proclaim, that people are unruly and more force needs to be had. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this devil, pivot, to try to demonize, all right, American citizens, okay, to be, okay, the enemy within. Okay, so let's play this.
We have a major win for the No King's Day protest and a major loss for this administration. This is according to New York police. I'm going to put a tweet right up here on the screen. The majority of protests have dispersed at this time and all traffic closures have been lifted. We had more than 100,000 people across all 5 boroughs peacefully exercising their First Amendment right, and the NYPD made 0 protest-related arrests. And this is the...
Now, what you see in local law enforcement, okay, are beginning to stand with the people. And ICE is being looked at as the villain. Okay, there's another, dynamic that's forming. Okay, these local sheriffs and police chiefs, okay, are beginning to rally, okay, around the people. Okay, and let's say ICE is being looked at as the villain. So this gonna be interesting to see how, things play out. Okay, with this dynamic, that's in effect now. So let's play some more.
Trend across the entire country. As you can see, I'm joining you from the downtown LA protest in Southern California. This has been completely peaceful. There's not been a single disturbance. To be completely candid, I was even worried coming here, given the spate of violence that's occurred across the country and the rhetoric that's been amped up at the hands of Donald Trump and his administration. But this has been completely peaceful, and it's a blow to this administration because they were relying on this idea that this entire No King's Day protest is some Antifa-filled hate rally, and that the left is just filled with domestic terrorists who are seeking to destroy things and hurt people. And clearly when you have their rhetoric contrasted against what we're actually seeing in real life, when not just thousands, not just tens of thousands, not just hundreds of thousands, but millions of people across the entire country and more than 2,600 communities in the states come out, and we're not seeing even a single arrest in the biggest jurisdictions like New York City. We're not seeing a single instance of violence like here in downtown Los Angeles. Then that is a testament to the fact that not only is the left a peaceful movement, but it goes to show that what Republicans and Donald Trump are doing is trying to weaponize their rhetoric against people, to manipulate their supporters into thinking that everybody on the Democratic side of the aisle, everybody in the pro-democracy movement is just dangerous and wants to hurt you, when in reality, it just goes to show that he relies on division to keep his movement up. He relies on demagoguery to make sure that people can flock to him. He needs to other people. He needs to tell the right that the left is this violent mass movement against them. But in reality, this is what it looks like when you have tens of thousands of people who've taken to the streets and there's no violence whatsoever. And yes, I'm sure that there are people from the right here. I'm sure that there's people from the center here. But again,
and the devil, just as he said, he needs a boogeyman, all right, that he's protecting the world from, and then and this whole Antifa, okay, propaganda, okay, is the boogeyman, the new boogeyman that, all right, he's been trying to hype up, okay, and present himself, okay. See, what they do, they present the boogeyman, okay, and them using, more force, okay, or becoming violent or, okay, draconian, all right, will look like he's solving the problem, okay. So we're in the struggle, a back and forth struggle, what we see now, of this devil trying to create a new boogeyman. See, decades ago, this would have been easy work for Esau, you see, but now with so much information, this devil's been exposed, so much truth is coming out, beginning with the prophets, okay, it's harder for him to pull off, okay, these psyops, you see. So, it's going to be interesting to see what's his next move, okay, to hype up the boogeyman of Antifa, okay. And like we're seeing local law enforcement begin to join in solidarity, okay, with his local, all right, citizens, man, okay. So when ISIS, dispatch, okay, to different cities, man, it's going to be interesting to see these interactions, man, and we're just watching these things unfold, okay.
a completely peaceful movement, not just here in Los Angeles, but across the country. And so that is a big loss for a Trump administration that relies on these optics that one side is dangerous to give themselves this sense of moral superiority when trying to use that as a pretense to send the troops in, for example. There was a major concern leading into today, and I've spoken at length about this with Mark Elias, for example, on our Democracy Watch series. Major concern that the Trump administration was going to use any individual instance of violence as a pretext to be able to invoke the Insurrection Act and to say, oh, look, there's all this violence, exactly what we warned you about, and so now we have grounds to be able to send the military in. And yet, as you can see, these completely peaceful movements are a testament to the fact that his efforts to deploy the troops into cities are completely unjustified. And by the way, it's not just me saying that. All you have to do is look at what the judges are saying in each individual courtroom. In Los Angeles a few months ago, you had Judge Breyer who said as much. In LA, you had Judge Immergut in Portland who also agreed, no pretext to be able to send in the troops. And then up in Chicago, you had Judge Perry who also agreed. And that decision was appealed up to the 7th Circuit, and the 7th Circuit agreed that there was no basis for the Trump administration to be able to deploy these troops into the cities. And so the Trump administration will rely on any, even anecdotal instances of violence to be able to justify the egregious oversteps that they're taking right now, these big government steps that they're taking right now. But good on the organizers, good on the participants, good on the 7 million plus Americans who've come out today for doing so peacefully and not giving any justification for the Trump administration. This also comes on the heels of the fact that not only is this some medium-sized protest or some small protest,
and it's not going to be that easy, because it seems like there's a victory, a step in the right direction. All right, but this devil not gonna, he don't give up like that. All right, so it's gonna be interesting to see. But one thing that we know for sure, all right, is people are choosing sides. Okay, people are choosing sides. All right, and people are getting ready to double down. Okay, in their okay, and whatever they believe, because there's so many different, divisions. There are divisions within divisions now. Because when you go here real quick, this is back in Mark 3:23, and it says, and he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. All right, and it's the devil, I say, divided on all levels. Okay, so you get this word divided, all right, in the Greek. Okay.
Strong's G 3307, merizo.
Merizo. All right. It says to divide, all right, to separate into parts, to cut into pieces, to divide into parties, okay, i.e., to be split into factions. Okay, and you have, now people are choosing sides. All right, you're getting certain solidarity on this side. People are forming, different parties and factions. The No King movement, that's the whole thing now. Okay, so whether you might be, because you might have liberals and conservatives that's in this whole No King movement. All right, then you got people that's straight liberal, then people that's still MAGAs, and people that's ex-MAGAs, and it's just all different divisions. Okay, and this society is being cut into all these different pieces. Okay, so you best believe, all right, this devil, like I say, if you people, if he can't get the response that he wants out of you people, he'll do it. He'll attack his goddamn self, man. All right, we seen it in October 7th, dealing with the small hats and Hamas. We seen it with, all right, 9/11. Okay, even you have, which I haven't really looked into it, but they go into even how Pearl Harbor, was an inside thing, and I haven't looked into it, so I can't confirm it. Okay, but just knowing how this devil does, it wouldn't be far fetched. Okay, so if you people, thinking that you got some type of victory, okay, because you had 7 million people across the country, doing protests in different cities, and there was no violence. Well, this devil, all right, he'll get his own party started. Okay, so you ain't out the woods. All right, just to put that out there. So now let's segue here, because there's just one, element of what's going on. All right, because you have this, okay, which this is the big talk. You got like 12 days, from the first of the month, and there's a big, talk around, all right, SNAP benefits, okay, being cut off. All right, it says SNAP benefits on pace to run out in 2 weeks if shutdown, all right, persists. Okay, so you have a lot of speculation, around this. All right, I know people that's on SNAP that said that they've received messages that they're not getting, their deposits in November. It's different in different states, different cases. Okay, but we do know one thing, as the scriptures say, the vintage is failing. All right, and it's the spirit that is happening in this time, because this is the season of ingathering, when you will get, your last harvest of the year to go through the winter. Okay, so you're going to hear that term, winter is coming. Okay, more often, man. All right. Now it says Washington says as the federal government shutdown extends to day 17, and with congressional leaders nowhere near negotiating, state officials are beginning to raise concerns of potential cuts to nutrition assistance benefits that feed millions if the government isn't reopened. All right. It says Minnesota has already halted new enrollments in supplement supplemental nutrition assistance program, or SNAP. All right. And officials in Kansas, New Hampshire, New Mexico have warned their residents could miss their food assistance payments, okay, for November. All right. And it says more than 42 million Americans rely on the program, with which the U.S. Department of Agriculture, okay, administrator, the federal government funds nearly all the program's benefits, with states administering the program. All right. So the funding comes from the federal, and then this shutdown, all right, which this is a pretense for these devils to push more agenda. Because see, it's a ripple effect. All these millions of people not getting this assistance. Okay, what are people going to resort to doing? Okay, they're going to resort to doing whatever they got to do. Okay, it's really finna be a get it how you live environment, man. If this thing continues, so you have that ripple effect. And see, whenever you go to war with somebody, what do? You do a siege. Okay, so what we're seeing, this is nothing more than a modern day siege. Okay, because famine doesn't all right, doesn't mean that there's no food, but people's access to food, okay, are becoming extremely limited. Okay, and remember, this is war. Okay, you see, you people don't understand your government is at war with you, and this Western society, especially over in America, is highly dependent on the government. You see, all these things, that all these perks, that come with this devil's government. Well, he's the devil. Okay, so this devil made you dependent on him for the sake of leverage. Okay, he doesn't give a damn about 42 million Americans, starving. He doesn't care about everyone in America starving. He doesn't care about no one starving except those elite. Okay, those few elite families, man. This man don't give a damn. Okay, people on here talking about, see, why the children gotta suffer. This nigga don't care. Okay, and people finna find out the hard way. All right, it says agriculture security secretary, so like agriculture secretary Brooke Rollins warned Thursday that SNAP will run out of funds in 2 weeks if Congress fails to strike a deal and end the government shutdown. Okay, it says you're talking about millions and millions of vulnerable families, of hungry families that are not going to have access to these programs because of this shutdown, she said outside the White House, Thursday. Okay, it said USDA could not be reached for comment Friday. Okay, so USDA has directed regional SNAP directors to stop working on benefits for November, according to an October 10th letter, by Politico, written by the program's acting associate, administrator Ronald Ward. Okay, considering the operational issues and constraints that exist in automated systems, and in the interest of preserving maximum flexibility, we are forced to direct states to hold their November issuance files, and delay transmission to state EBT vendors until further notice, Ward wrote. This includes ongoing SNAP benefits, okay, and daily files, man. So November 1st, you can see a huge, disruption, okay, in SNAP benefits, and that's looming. All right. If government doesn't come, to some type of agreement. So it just depends on how these devils want to play it. Do they want to, let it ride out, let it get chaotic, you know? Hey, we'll see, but eventually all these things are going to fail anyway. Okay? Eventually all these things are going to fail. Okay? And we're going to be affected by particular things because this is just one part of it. Because I want to segue to something else. There's just one part, okay, of the food shortage, okay, that this devil is fabricating. So now let's go here, okay. Yeah, let's get this one. All right, so let's play a few minutes of this because the SNAP is only one part. All right, it's beyond the SNAP benefits. All right, that's being sabotaged. Okay, it's the food, okay, supply in general. Okay, because people are saying go to the food banks. Well, listen to what the devil is doing. Okay, with the food banks. Okay, so let's play this.
I'm not a historian, but I heard that every revolution involved a hungry proletariat. They can hide data, but they can't take away hunger. Yeah, exactly. I heard some really concerning news yesterday. Actually, let me back up a little bit more. I want to talk about two different stories, and both of them are going to relate directly to this comment. The first one is a piece that came out a couple of days ago on October 14th. Trump canceled 94 million pounds of food aid. Here's what never arrived. This is from ProPublica. ProPublica has done consistently excellent reporting. I really encourage you to go support their journalism. Really, really good and necessary work that they're doing right now. On a sweltering day in Vidalia, Louisiana, Shannon Cornwell and Freddie Green got in a long line to wait for food. The couple had struggled to pay for groceries amid soaring prices and health setbacks, they said. She had back surgery. He had undergone cancer treatment. They turned to a local food bank to supplement their diets. Although they're grateful for the food, lately they noticed changes in what they received. For months in the spring and summer, their pickups did not include any meat.
If I were him, I'd bundle my home and auto and pick up the real victory, savings.
Are you talking about bowling?
Now, I talked about this earlier in the year, but Donald Trump yanked away about $500 million of food bank funding that helped hungry people get eggs, dairy, and meat. This is food that was distributed through the Emergency Food Assistance Program. Back in May, the regime halted deliveries of 2% milk to 31 states and then expanded so that by the end of September, more than 4,300 deliveries of meat, eggs, and dairy were denied to hungry people in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, and D.C. Let's look at North Carolina. Both of their senators, Ted Budd and Tom Tillis, are Republicans. Donald Trump canceled 97 shipments of emergency food aid to North Carolina between May and September. That's almost 3 million pounds of food. If you live in North Carolina, you might let your Republican senators know how you feel about that. We already know that disproportionately it is Republican states that are negatively impacted, hungry people in Republican states who are the most impacted by the cruel and chaotic and erratic actions of the Trump regime. All told, between May and the end of September, the Trump regime held back 94 million pounds of food from hungry Americans. Donald Trump and his America First policy. Donald Trump is giving $40 billion of our tax money to bail out Argentina. I mean, really, that's far more about bailing out the hedge funds that are operating in Argentina. Argentina is now our prime competitor with China for soybean contracts. So it hurts our soybean farmers. We're pumping tens of billions of dollars into another country under Donald Trump's America First policy. And under Donald Trump's America First policy, hungry Americans have 94 million pounds of food denied to them, held back. This is food that had already been budgeted for. By the way, Congress had already allocated funds for this emergency food aid. Let's get back to that couple using the...
So now this devil is canceling shipments, millions of pounds of food, all right, to these food banks. Okay, so SNAP is just one element of food shortages. Okay, Because what's the next phase? Okay, no more SNAP. So people are going to what? Overwhelm, okay, the food banks. Well, the food banks are experiencing shortages due to what? Cancellation of shipments, all right, by your boy Nero. Okay, and you don't believe that these things are tied together. Okay, so let's go from there. This guy, he's gonna break down what's happening, okay, with American farmers. Okay, all right, these commercial farmers, okay, they're pretty much, all right, feed the nation. Now, where we at? Uh, hold on, let me pull the video back up. I must cancel it out somehow. So let me pull this video up. Find the video. So yeah, I got this video. So this guy, you know, he's gonna break down. This is off the Kim Iverson show. Okay, so we're gonna see this guy, okay, breaking down what's happening, you know, with these big farms. All right, these big commercial farms in America. Okay, what the government is doing, you know, with them. You know, you have to understand all these things are connected. All right, so these food shortages are going to affect more than just those, all right, that are on EBT. Okay, so let's wind this one back. All right, I thought I had it pulled up, but I got it saved on the history. But here we go. So now let's listen to him. You know, so snaps, you know, could be heavily interrupted November 1st. Okay, you got food banks, okay, that are having millions of pounds of food, okay, being canceled, okay, by the government. And you have this that the government is doing, all right, with, you know, the food system, okay, dealing with farmers, all right. So this is Mayday, all right. America's food system is collapsing, you know, and all this is prophetic. You know, we'll get the prophecies in a minute. So let's play this.
Joe Maxwell, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Kim. It's great to be on the show and appreciate your interest in this vital topic to us American farmers.
Well, I think it should be a vital topic for all people, considering we all eat food, right?
That's right.
Okay, let's talk about what the problem is. What are the challenges that farmers are facing right now?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important for everyone in the country to know, and you're exactly right. All of us are part of agriculture, right? Because we're eaters. Right now, the current agricultural policy system in the United States has failed. We're losing 60 family farmers a day. We have an agricultural
60 family farmers a day. In 10 days, there's 600 farms. You see? So while, you know, the uproar is about the stamps, the food stamps, well, you can have $1 trillion in food stamps, but if the farming system is failing, that's not going to matter. See, they're disrupting this thing from the source. You see? 60 farms a day. It's crazy work, you know?
trade deficit that's going to be a record of $47 billion. And we have a concentrated marketplace that farmers never know certainty on how much they're going to be paid for their crops when they plant the seed.
Welcome to Conga
We now are involved in tariffs and trade wars and government shutdowns, providing only more cost, less opportunity to market, and greater uncertainty as we head into this next growing season. And finally, it's failing all of us because we are not feeding our citizens. Big Ag, the largest corporations, keep saying, we feed the world, the United States. The agriculture powerhouse of the United States does not feed even ourselves. We're importing 60% of our fruits, a third of our vegetables. And the tariffs on those items, consumers are seeing that at the grocery store.
Mhm.
We have a sick population. We're unhealthy. Our food system is driving the negative results of health. So it's a failed system. And those are
So a lot of farms in America are set up, to export its food to other countries. You see? So here it is, you already have less than 3% of the population that are farmers. Okay. And a portion of those farmers are set up, all right, to export food, all right, to other countries, man. Okay. This man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Okay.
the things that we're facing as farmers and as a public in the United States.
Okay, it seems just right off the bat really concerning that we're importing a lot of our food. That doesn't seem like it's great for national security. I mean, we saw what happened during COVID with shutdowns. What happens if the supply chains crash? I mean, what if there's a world war, which we're constantly seemingly on the brink of? What would happen to our supply? What would happen to our food supply in the event of the supply chain breaking down? What would you say?
Well, consumers would go to the grocery store and there wouldn't be anything on the shelves. We're in a serious national security and food security issue in this country, and no one on the Capitol Hill is talking about it. What they're talking about is additional bailouts. Know that the bailouts that the president's talking about now, based on the trade war, especially to soybean farmers, will be the third bailout in a year for these commodity crop growers. And it's all dependent upon exports. But when your largest buyer, China, of your soybeans says no, you don't have to wait for a war. When that largest buyer buys about half of the U.S. production, a little over, says no, I'm not buying from you anymore, and goes to South America, you're left with bins full and bankrupt farmers. This is the third bailout. What happens in the time of another pandemic or war? Consumers go hungry because we're dependent on that our food to be brought in from somewhere else. We don't feed ourselves. We import food, and we raise in America on our farms feed for livestock and crops for fuel, not food for people. It's a serious problem in America.
Right. That was going to be my next question. Why are the farmers farming soybeans, for example, that they're reliant on China purchasing and then why are we importing the rest of our food? Like why aren't our farms growing food for Americans and we rely less on exports and less on imports?
The largest grain traders, the Cargills, the Dreyfus, the Bungys in the world, they control most of the terminals. They buy the grains around the world. They have helped drive, along with the bigger industrial food system, they've helped drive farm programs that encourage farmers and secure farmers' risk to raise the grains, corn, soybean, cotton, wheat, some peanuts, and rice. And that, when you hear about farmer bailouts, that's where the money's going. Only 4% of government subsidies goes to those farmers trying to raise healthy foods. And we're talking about billions and billions of dollars. Just this next bailout, they're talking at least 13 to $15 billion. None of that is being talked about to going to raise food to put on the shelves in U.S. markets in your grocery store.
So let me get this straight. So we've got a bunch of farmers who have over time transitioned or started farms that grow basically product that's only for exporting for other countries' needs. We don't need this. The other countries need it. And what Donald Trump is doing is bailing out, basically bailing out farmers who the only customer that really needs them are foreigners, not Americans.
Well, the U.S. big meat packers needs cheap feed. So it's also about cheap feed. Right?
Okay.
So encouraging farmers and having farm programs that spend billions of taxpayers' money to encourage farmers to raise corn and soybeans to put into animal feed causes the farmer to overproduce those grains. They're selling those grains to these big grain traders for below their production cost. Now, what company in the world can survive? No one. So what happens? They go to Washington, D.C. and need bailout money to stay afloat. Who's the beneficiary of the bailout money? Other foreign countries.
Right. I mean,
and
that's
the biggest meat packers in the U.S. and the world. Understand that these same meat packers, JBS is one of the largest beef packers in the United States. 4 companies control 85% of all the cattle market in the United States.
4 companies control 85% of the cattle market in the United States. How fragile is that? Okay. Millions, all right, hundreds of millions of people depend on, all right, 4 companies, okay, for the beef. You see, and this is a backwards ass farm system. And see, this double tricked everybody, okay, off the family farm, you know, where you got what you call a agrarian society, okay, when, you know, most of the population is skilled in agriculture, okay, and he has put everybody in these suits and ties, okay, in these work uniforms, herded everyone into these cities, okay, these urban areas, okay, and now everyone is dependent on just a few companies, okay, when it comes to farming. All right, and these companies depend on the government to keep themselves afloat. You see, and you have like I said, a portion of those farmers, okay, they export, okay, they grow foods just to export abroad, which makes America have to import certain foods. Okay. Backwards as hell. Okay, but this is the system that the devil has set up. And see, no one is talking about this. See, everyone's talking about the snap. See, that's the back end. Okay, that's the end of the train. We talking about where the train is loaded at. Okay, not where the train is dropping off. We're talking about now where the train is being loaded. Okay, and then play some more.
JBS is usually the largest. It goes back and forth between Tyson and JBS, around 26% of the market. They are also the largest meat packer in the world. So when we talk about exports in other countries, these big corporations like JBS and Smithfield and others are taking benefit of that cheap feed all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
This strange story happened to me a long time ago. Our aircraft carrier was
and in the end, the farmer to survive has to have the government programs. So it's a never-ending cycle, a loop, where the big ag folks come in, lobby Congress for more money for subsidies to grow corn, soybeans, wheat, the main commodity grains. They get that money. The farmers then move that way because of risk management tools and government programs, and then they produce more than the market will bear. The market goes down. Farmers need help. The big ag folks help lobby with the farmers, get more money to do the same thing, all the while
Mhm.
we're not feeding our own citizens.
Right.
And vegetable and fruit growers are getting 4% of the subsidies in this country. And
Okay.
it's a failed system.
Yeah, that sounds like a failed system.
And it's meant to be a failed system. Okay? Because they know, all right, that food shortages is going to be another avenue to create civil unrest. Now I looked up some things in Rome, all right, at the end of Rome, all right. So this is on the chat, all right, and I'll get this here, okay. The second Ezra 16:21 said, "Behold, victuals." This the brother GMS pray always hope for elect, the brother Corner Waff, Shalom, Makia. It says, second Ezra 16:21 said, "Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion." Okay, so while people, all right, are still able, to have this convenience of, grocery stores, okay, food delivery, apps, okay, buffets, you see, they're not understanding, okay, what's being happening, or how, the government is dismantling, all right, the food supply, okay, from the top at its source, okay. All these TikTok videos about bragging about how much food stamps you're getting and what you're buying, and the kids dancing in the background, and you know, you see, all this was being done while these devils while these devils are dismantling the whole thing from the farm. They're sabotaging the farms and this whole agricultural, all right, industry, which is very fragile. Okay, so people are not understanding that it's going to be it's way beyond SNAP benefits. Okay, that's the back end. Okay, this devil is sabotaging the front end. You see, and then what? And shortages. This is going to cause what? People to get violent. Okay, we're gonna get into that. All right, first, it's your brother Bayon Yasha Allah. All right, 144. Second Ezra 16:22 said, "For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy." Man, so it's prophesied that a lot of people going to die by famine, which means access to food, okay, is going to get extremely scarce. And then those that don't die by famine, okay, because if you got any type of stockpile, guess what? You're a target now. You're a target now. But see, the Lord says we're going to be good. If the brother can post that, second Ezra 2 and 27 and 28, Bakusha. And see, we trust in this. Okay. We know that prepping, okay, is not going to be the answer. All right. If start buying more non-perishable, you're not wicked. Okay. And that's not going to be the X factor, okay, of surviving these times. No, it's going to be, through the Lord's mercy, through miracles, man. Okay. Well, let's go through here. So I pulled this up. So I asked, all right, before Rome's fall, all right, before Rome fell, the citizens lose certain government benefits, and did Rome struggle with feeding its people? It says yes. Before the fall of Rome, especially in the later stages of the Western Roman Empire, 3rd to 5th centuries AD, citizens did lose certain government benefits, and Rome struggled to feed its population. These were symptoms of deeper economic, all right, political and military problems, okay, that contributed, all right, to the empire's decline. And if a brother can post that in the NLT, Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, all right, because this is going to sound extremely familiar when we go through this. It says loss of government benefits in earlier periods. Roman citizens, especially in the city of Rome, enjoy several state, all right, sponsored benefits. Okay, it said free or subsidized grain. All right, so Rome had the EBT. It says a key element of Roman welfare. Okay, public entertainment, bread and circuses. All right, panine. All right, eat circanis. Is in Latin. It says to keep the population to content. It says land grants and pensions for soldiers. Okay. However, by the 3rd and 5th centuries, the central government was less able to fund these benefits due to financial strain, inflation, and debasement of currency. Okay. Does this not sound familiar? The central government was less able to fund these benefits due to financial strain, inflation, and debasement of currency. Tax burdens increased, especially on the middle and lower class, while elites often found ways to avoid taxes. Okay? Tax burdens increase, especially on the middle and lower classes, while elites often found ways to avoid taxes, man. Okay? Is this not the same setup? Okay? Because it's the same elites of Rome, okay, that are back today. You see, it's the same elites of the ancient Roman Empire that are back today running in this one, man. Okay, this is the brother GMS Prayer, always hopeful elect. History merely repeats itself. Ecclesiastes 1:9 in the NLT. History merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. All right, and we're seeing it, man. Okay, this thing is playing out the exact same way. Okay, it says local officials were increasingly expected to fund public services out of their own pockets, okay, leading to the avoidance of public, all right, office. Rome and other cities, and that's the thing. It says local officials, and that will be like your state officials, because now, all right, you have Republicans saying, well, look, let the state take care of, these SNAP benefits, because right now the feds, okay, they finance, certain benefits. Okay, so you have, you know, especially the Republicans, which is all the same. All right, but they're saying, well, look, let the states fund these things, and the states don't have the surplus, okay, of capital as the Fed does. Okay, so it's an intentional sabotage for this thing to fall. Okay, it says Rome and other cities face major problems feeding their populations in the empires later centuries. The grain supply from Egypt and North Africa, Rome's breadbasket, became less reliable due to political instability, attacks by pirates and enemy tribes, loss of territory to invading groups. Transportation system degraded, roads and ports fell into despair, making it harder, all right, to move grain. All right, so infrastructure was poor. Okay, logistics, to move food became poor. Okay, it says as food shortages and insecurity worsened, many people left cities for the countryside or smaller towns. Okay, it says by the time Rome fell officially in 467 AD in the West, many citizens had already lost key benefits they once relied on, and the empire was no longer able to effectively feed or care for its urban population. These issues weren't the sole cause of Rome's fall, but they were a clear sign of a weakening state and a struggling society. Okay? Nothing is new under the sun, man. And this is Rome reloaded, going through the same phases, okay, of a fall. Okay? So let's go here. Let's get some precepts, brothers. We're getting, I want to get these as well, because now, you see, this is the result. Let's play this video, and then I'll now this from the beloved brother Amawan Gabar. All right, the elder brother Amawan Gabar out there in the main camp. I just want to play the beginning of this video, because so this is the results. okay, of what these devils are doing behind the scene. All right. By the time you make it to the grocery store, okay, and look at the prices, well, these are the results of certain policies and, you know, things going on behind the scenes that cause this, man. These devils fully understand the ripple effect of these certain policies that they put in place. Okay. So let's play this.
Hey guys, we got another major story developing. November 1st, they're going to cut off SNAP benefits. This is going to have major effect on all of us, guys, not just the people who are losing their benefits. Because you need to think, all these people who are losing the ability to buy food when the economy is already in the gutter and things are already at just ridiculous pricing. How do you think that they're going to survive? What's next? Theft? They're going to have to start stealing food, which means prices are going to raise, which means they will lock things up, which means we might be in martial law a lot sooner than we thought. Because when they have to start controlling the food centers, the Walmarts, martial law, that's when bread lines and everything will start. Okay. When the food centers are no longer secure, that's when your lockdowns will really begin. And when you take the SNAP benefits away from all these people who already have nowhere else to turn, what do you think is going to be the result of this? These people are going to get into survival mode here soon. Whether they come to the stores and start rioting and ransacking the shelves in the stores, or they start coming to your cupboards, they're going to come looking for food here soon, because that's survival.
I usually don't do a TikTok in a grocery store, but it's after church and everybody's shopping. So I said, well, I'll make some, ground meat and pasta later today. Do you see that? $27.76 for 3 pounds of ground meat. Oh my God. Looks like we're going to have to start eating a lot more carbs. Or maybe going vegan. I mean, thank God it's just me and my husband. But wow. These are like $30 a pack. Unbelievable. I'm about to shit a literal brick right now. I'm at Food Lion. These prices are fucking insane. Boneless beef chuck steak, $82.99. $0.83 and $99.99 a pound. Look at this. Look at this. This is crazy. That's fucking insane. Hey, I got a question. Is this for real? Like, me and my husband are arguing over it to see if that's a legit price or is it messed up? I know they went up on me like hardcore, but I was like, is that real?
I mean, I'm not really,
right?
It seems a little high to me.
That does. Well, see, there's like 3 or 4 of them over there that are all $80-something.
I guess it must be. I mean,
I know prices is high, but damn.
I'm at Walmart right now. Tell me if I'm tripping, but the price of meat has significantly gone up. Like, are we dead serious right now? Like, are we dead ass? Is this real life? I am so shocked. Like, I am so shocked. Is this real life? This is expensive.
Lord, give all praises, honor, and glory to you.
Yeah, man. So that's the results of what's happening in the background, and as these things intensify, as people begin to lose their benefits, all right, as prices, because even, whether you get food stamps or not, all right, you're being outpriced, people can't afford, their grocery, all right, bill anymore. Okay. So you're going to see scarcity, all right, we're going to see more food shortages. Okay, because it's all prophecy. All right. So let's go to these different prophecies, okay, concerning what we're seeing. And all this is happening, because these will be the circumstances, okay, of the end time. Now, this is Isaiah 19. As a matter of fact, I started at 1. It says the message, all right, this message came to me concerning Egypt, which is America. Look, the Lord is advancing against Egypt. This is Yahweh Shai. Riding on a swift cloud, the idols of Egypt tremble, the hearts of the Egyptians melt with fear. So this is the second coming of Yahweh Shai. All right. And now it goes back, leading up of what would be going on before Yahweh Shai, all right, enters, okay, into this realm. Okay, he said, I will make the Egyptian fight against the Egyptian, the division, as we're seeing now. All these different divisions, local law enforcement, federal law enforcement, the liberals, the conservatives, the MAGAs, the anti-MAGAs, the ex-MAGAs against the new MAGAs. It's all over the place, man. Okay, the middle class, there's class wars, everything, man. Okay, people, YNs, all over the place, man. Okay, it said I will make the Egyptian fight against the Egyptian, or you could say the American fight against the American, brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, city against city, province against province, man. And this is what we're seeing. Okay, this is what we're seeing. All right, constantly, all right, manifesting, man. All right, so the Egyptians will lose heart, and I will confuse their plans. They will plead with their idols for wisdom and call on spirits, mediums, and those who consult the spirits of the dead, which witchcraft, is it's part of American culture. Okay, yeah, people trying to put hexes on Donald Trump, going back to his first term. Okay, there's all type of madness, man. Eve is in, she's heavy into witchcraft. Okay, but all is going to fail. And even if you're a Christian, that's nothing but witchcraft, man, nothing but paganism. Okay, and all is going to fail. All right. Verse 4 says, I will hand Egypt over to a hard, cruel master, which, hey, Donald Trump has to be that guy. And he's nothing but a puppet for the elites. Okay, the source of cruelty. It says a fierce king will rule them. All right, and what was their whole protest about yesterday? No King's Day. Okay, no King's Day. You see? Well, now the Lord has put a cruel, all right, king, okay, over America, man. You see? It just says, this the point. It said the waters of the Nile will fail to rise and flood the fields. The riverbed will be parched and dry. Yeah, because you had certain areas of Egypt that if the Nile didn't flood, there wouldn't be no crops. And if the Nile didn't flood, there wouldn't be any crops, because that's how those crops would be watered, because it didn't rain a lot in certain areas in Egypt. Okay, so it depended on the Nile flooding. That's why those Egyptians worship the Nile River. Just like you Americans, you worship this system. You depend on this system. You depend on government subsidies, and you depend on the benefits of the government. Okay, well, guess what? These things are not going to come through. So there's going to be a point where these things fail. And they could get things up and running in November, and Trump is going to look like the hero. Okay, and you people going to go on celebrating your pagan holidays and your pride. But there's going to come a time when this shit is going to fail for good. It's not going to come back. Okay, it is going to gradually get worse and worse, man. And this could be that time to where things, all right, kick into another gear. All right, but we'll see. And it says the canals of the Nile will dry up, and the streams of Egypt will stink with rotten reeds and rushes. All the greenery along the riverbank and all the crops along the river will dry up and blow away. The fishermen will lament for lack of work. Those who cast hooks into the Nile will groan, and those who use net will lose heart. Okay? Because people are used to drawing out of this system. You know, like you will put your net in the water as a fisherman and you will pull in those fish. Okay. In America, Americans are used to, this system being abundant to them. You know, I think America wastes about 40% of its food a year, with restaurants and, schools and, there's a big waste of its food every year. Okay. So Americans are used to throwing that net out there and pulling in a lot. Okay. Well, now it's coming to a time where ain't nothing gonna be in that net. Okay. So there will be no flax for the harvesters, no thread for the weavers. They will be in despair, and all the workers will be sick at heart. Okay. And this is what we're seeing. Okay. That this place is being sabotaged. All right. And all these different industries, okay, all these conveniences that have been enjoyed, okay, in America is finna dry up. Okay, let's go here to I got that in the NLT, 2nd Ezra 15, and explain exactly the times that we are in. Okay, and it's just going to intensify. All right. So you go to the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15, and this is in GNT. Okay. It says the whole land, all right, will be in mourning. Well, I started at 11. All right. It says, I will use all my strength and power to bring them out of the land, and this is the elect. You see, we got a promise of a deliverance, and we got a promise of provisions in these times. This is what we believe in, because this is going to affect us all. Okay. But we take joy in knowing that he is. This is when we really gotta believe that he is, man. And it says, I will bring disasters upon the Egyptians. You see that there's no good news for you Americans, man, as I did earlier. So he's gonna plague Egypt as before. So just like he played ancient Egypt, well, he's getting ready to plague this Egypt, America, spiritual Egypt. All right. And I will destroy their country, and that's with the nukes. Okay. The whole land will be in mourning. It will be shaken to its foundation when I, the Lord, strike it and pound on it. And see, the Lord is going to pound this place, right? Before he pounds it with missiles, he's going to pound it with plagues, with poverty, with famine, with violence, pestilence. Okay? It says the farmers will mourn because their seed will fail to sprout, and their trees will be destroyed, all right, by blight, hail, and terrible storms. The world and the people in it are doomed. Okay. You see, this age is doomed because of the judgment that's come. We're in that time of doom. Okay. It said the war that will bring their destruction is very near. Nations will arm themselves and fight other nations. Okay. Which you're going to have, strife on every level, nations against nations, states against states, communities against communities, the urban versus the rural. Okay, it's going to go down on every level. It says there will be great political turmoil with one group trying to overpower another and gain control while ignoring the legitimate government, man. Okay, you're going to see a lot of, it's going to be a lot of areas, under the control of certain militias, under control of certain mercenaries, certain factions. Okay, it's finna get different out here, man. It said there will no longer be free access to the cities, martial law, because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. Driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. Okay, these are the times that we're seeing formulate. Okay, right before our eyes, man. Okay, and in the midst of this, we have to trust that he is. Okay, let's get this. Your brother Boyan Yashala 144 says 2nd Ezra 2:27 says, be not weary, for when the day of trouble, all right, and heaviness coming, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry and have abundance, man. And we have to really believe in that. And we know that he's more than able. That's light work, man. Okay? And this is why this grace period was for us to get and be getting in good standings with our power. Okay? Doubling down on righteousness, man. This is our life. This is what, because this is going to be the only thing that matters is, all right, our good standings with our power. This is going to be the only thing that's going to matter, man. Okay? 2 Ezra 2:28 said, the heathen shall envy thee, but they shall, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, says the Lord, man. So we're going to be in a good case, man. We're going to be persecuted, we're going to be tried. We got a straight gate. Okay? We can't, shun to declare the whole counsel of the Lord. So there's going to be a straight gate that we have to go through to get to these benefits, but we have to believe, all right, that he is, and the Lord's going to provide. Those provisions are already there. All right. We don't have to overwhelm ourselves with trying to prep. We definitely don't have to bend the knee to this goddamn beast system. Okay. The Lord going to provide, man. And we fully believe that. All right. And we got to constantly push that, So that was the point, just wanted to get into that this morning. Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutations to the hope of that. Shalom.